Hello. Let's see if this worked. Tweet this out. Okay, guys, so before we get started picking things for tomorrow, let us figure out what happened on Friday. Always the best first step is to go through and see what kind of happened the day before and check out how everything's working, if there's any adjustments that had to be made, that type of thing. He's obviously looking at the P&L at the end of every day, so I kind of know what yesterday was like, but I like to review the charts. And one of the cool things about trade ideas is that you can just click on a symbol and it will show you exactly where your fill was and the price that it was at right here. So kind of first what we'll do is we'll go through and we'll check out kind of what happened on Friday. Then we'll wrap up the list from Friday. We'll take a look at where the market's at now, what we think it might do next week, and kind of build some stocks to get put into the robot before. So people are coming in now. I'll start with the disclaimer in case anyone's new here, exactly what it is that I do. I'm primarily an algorithmic trader. I'm 100% an auto trader, which means that all of the trades that you'll see were placed entirely by my bot that we're building up for a prop firm that I'm a partner with. You can email me, links below for everything below the video, to join the prop firm, to check out trade ideas, mentoring, these types of things. What I do is I look for stocks that I think have the potential to move in a certain direction the next night, and then I feed them into these kind of entry algorithms, you could call them, for trading the next day. So of the 20 stocks or so that we may pick today for Monday's trading, you're talking 5 to 10. I think that will actually meet the criteria that I set forth in the entry algorithm and go from there. So first of all, so let's look at what happened Friday. Friday was a fantastic day. We'll go through each of the trades. I'll tell you which ones I got filled in, which ones I didn't, and then how I kind of dealt with them after the robot entered them. I was out most of Friday, so I didn't really do much. So most of it was just kind of trigger, put out the stop, hold it till the end of the day, and sell. So AME here. We entered on this red 5-minute candle short. I was just kind of looking for this bit of overextended move, a lot of topping tails up near 57.50. I was just looking for a little coil back down. The other thing too is that right below the video you're watching, there's like this live chat box. If you guys could type in here that you hear me and everything sounds okay and looks okay, and if anything breaks or you have any questions, feel free to put them in there, right? There's probably 3 of us here, so there's a lot of time for Q&A and that type of thing. So feel free to use the chat for sure. So AME was a great little trade. Stop was, 5-6 cents away, and we had a pretty decent move of about 30 cents, give or take. So that was pretty decent. Zillow shorted at 39.66. right on this candle and this blue line, and this was just kind of an all day mover here. It was great. EVHC was a stop out. We shorted it right in this area, and then it got stopped out, I believe, 20-ish cents higher up through here. So that's fine. I'll take a 60 cent winner for every 20-cent loser every day of the week. INOS didn't get filled on this one. It was kind of disappointing because it tried to get filled in through here, and you can see it pushed up nicely. Or no, sorry, INOS I did get filled on. It was ACAI that I didn't. Don't know if it would have hit the stop here or not. It wasn't a great trade, but I did notice I didn't get filled on this one. SHLD, we got long in through here. It just chopped sideways all day. That was kind of a do-nothing trade. You can see the entry price at 10.20, and then closed at 10.22, got up to 10.29, and as low as 10.12. So that's just happened. SHLD might go back on the list. I'm just looking at this kind of massive pullback after this nice strong move up from 6 to 14. Now we've pulled back to 10 with like 6 days in a row. Going back in for a bounce. Costco, we got filled in here. Pulled back a little bit, moved up a little bit. I didn't get out. I wasn't around at this time, so I think I got out in the so pretty do nothing trade. ASPS was pretty damn good. Got filled on 21.11. Stop would have been down here at 20.90 ish. Fantastic, just kind of push up all day. May leave this one back on the chart as well, right? It's kind of obvious from 45 down to 22. If it bounced even into the 30s, this is still a very bearish move. And that's kind of the things I look at. Do nothing too. Bought in here. You can see the fills obviously here at 47.04. Closed at 47.06. So nothing happened with that one. So 2 tiny losers, a few good winners, and then a handful that just did nothing. So pretty much, if I could get that every day, that'd be fantastic. So let's quickly take a look. I don't think there's really anything to be taken from that. I look at those results and I don't look at the ones that didn't work out and say, oh, well, I really wish these did. I kind of look at it as, I got better than a 50-50 win rate. The winners far paid for the losers. That's all I want, right? I'm not super picky and precise when it comes to trading. I want to kind of crack that 50% win rate, get more like a 60% win rate, and then just kind of watch them go from there. So take a quick look here on the SPY. Very interesting, very choppy action, very frustrating, I think, for a lot of long-term traders and swing traders. We looked like we were going to break down here, had this kind of bear trap that if you were in the other live stream when this happened, we were talking about when the market gaps down like this, completely fills the gap and keeps going. Kind of hurts anyone who is really looking too closely at the short side. So we're kind of looking to see a pullback, whether the pullback holds, and it did. And then a move higher from there. Still, though, basically I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, if the market's above 230 or below 240, we're still just in this massive consolidation. So what I'm going to be looking for, and this is one of the main reasons I look at the market, is when I'm building my algos and when I'm doing this kind of half algo, half discretionary trading style, I want to look for things that are going to fit with the tone of the market. And the tone of the market I see right now is chop and frustration. Everyone I talk to is just kind of They thought this would be the one, right? We had a sell off and a tiny bear flag and then a gap down. And everyone's like, yes, maybe the market goes down a bit. Nope. Back up near all-time highs. So in the interim, I'm going to take a look for things that are overbought near support and or resistance and oversold near support, and just kind of look to play that range. Again, any scanners you guys see that you like here, some of which I can share, some of which I can't. For trade ideas, there's obviously many more in the scanners, but these are the ones that I use particularly. And then a lot of people always ask when I do these videos, what is this window? And this is a single stock window that I just put together. It's got what a reasonable stop on the security would be, what its average true range is, the amount of options volume, the amount of regular volume, today's range, short float, these types. Just a little quick snapshot of things that I'd like to see from the stock. So first, let's go through the full list. We saw we'll actually trade it, right? So if I bring in the longs here, you can see this is what was actually traded, but this was the entire list. So a lot of these didn't meet the entry criteria, so they were just ignored by the robot. Some of these, I guess, could be primed for later, and some can't. So we're just going to take a quick run through and try to see if there's any ideas I can recycle, which saves time. And you know, if I'm looking at something to be an oversold bounce and it doesn't bounce, it may continue on the list. For anyone who doesn't know, essentially all I'm doing is I'm going to use trade ideas to scan for things that I like to see in the market. And then I'm going to build these. If you configure a window and you go into symbol lists, you can see that there's a couple symbols here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to then feed the stocks that I like into the symbol list editor that you can just find at the website here. I'm going to post this in the chat. I don't see anyone hammering in. This will take you and you'll just sign in, and then you can create your own lists. So even though that this is a generic top list window, it only contains things on my long lists, right? Where short window. Then I take that list and I feed it into this alert window and I say, okay, I only want you to trade the stocks that I put in that list if and when, you know, X, Y, and Z happens, right? So, you know, all of the stocks have to look a certain way. And I'm sure there's going to be at least one example I know of stocks of the reason why I don't just say, hey, if you break yesterday's low or if you break yesterday's high, that's what I want you to trade. They're very specific algorithms that say only execute if X, Y, and Z happen. So let's go into the long here and we'll clear out yesterday and we'll start scanning. And again, the chat room's there if anyone is here watching. Anytime for questions or anything like that, fill your boots. ACIA, we saw that was the one that we didn't get a trade on, but I like the look of it. Oversold into this kind of recent, mark this up, this support area here, or resistance there, may now be coming support here. So I'm going to feed this back into the list, see if we can get a fill on it for Monday. I need to open up a pen. I got this program here. It's supposed to help me annotate and draw on things. Where is it? Epic Pen. Where'd you go? I don't know where that is. We'll skip that for now. ADSK, I think I'm going to keep in as well. Essentially, I'm just looking at this bear flag here, where markup, we have this clear resistance. Every time we push down, if I kind of scroll out the intraday chart, let's do, say, a 30. you can see that every time we kind of dip under this 89.50 area, we push back up. So we have this kind of clear defined support down here. So as long as we're kind of just messing around between this support and resistance area, I'm going to try to look to see if I can get a long play. Ideally, we break up over 90.70. We could get running from there. ASPS has been on my list here for a few days now. Not just because of this dramatic sell-off, but because this dramatic sell-off has led us to this area where we've bounced many times in the past. And we got a pretty good trade on it on Friday, which I just showed my little wrap up there. So if we get a nice pullback again to this line and it holds, that's what I'm going to program the bot to say, is that a pullback that quickly gets negated on ASPS into this area, I want to take there. Yeah, QCOM. QCOM's a good reason why when you're doing a style like this, and again, if you're planning on auto trading it, this is fantastic. But even if you're not, if you develop the system and then you simply put the securities into that system, it will give you just a nice little alert window like this, and you can just watch this alert window all day and actually discretionary trade what comes through it. But the reason that I say certain things like I don't want it to have gapped one way or the other is for reasons like QCOM, where we gap down. And if I said something like, oh, I just want you to break this resistance area, which is what I was looking for yesterday, then after it's broke that, well, it's already run all the way down from 51.13 all the way the hell up to the area to break, right? So kind of runs out of gas, I guess, when you go that high. I do, however, like that candle as a bullish candle. It kind of spits in the face of all the shorts and pushed high on volume. If I was a Momo trader, this is something I would definitely have an eye on for Friday. Or sorry, for Monday. But I'm more of a pullback support and resistance player, so I'm going to pass on that. SHLD we're going to bring in as well. Leave that one back in. Steel Dynamics and Toronto Dominion. That one didn't do anything for us on Friday. So now I'm going to go through some of my custom scans again. Some of these I can share. Some of them, they have custom formulas in it. I can show you the custom formulas. I can't input them myself from here. So what I'll do is I'll take a look at this one. And essentially all I've done with this particular custom scan, for anyone who's played with them or knows anything about programming or anything to this respect, is I simply said I want the open and the close to both be in the very top end of the range. So we have the open and the close. If they're so far up, then we know that the bottoming tail has to be pretty big. So it's just an easy way to express that I want a big bottoming tail on all securities. So WDC, right, you can see this hammer candle. Again, I sidestep news. I sidestep gaps. I'm really not interested too much in playing the Momo stocks. I know there's a lot of money in Momo stocks and a lot of people like that kind of stuff. It's just not really for me. But you'll see everything that comes through the scan will have this big bottoming tail. And for me, it's just a good way to find stocks that are constantly getting rejected at a support area. You know, the more bottoming tails you see at support or topping tails you see at resistance, the more it kind of looks for where the buyers are aggressively stepping in. part of the problem I've found recently finding longs is that the market is been moving up so much that for a kind of pullback type player like me, things become a bit a bit difficult. So what I have been kind of adapting to is PH is looking for stocks like this, right? Where we have a clear resistance area here in this $81 area. But every time they kind of push us down to 79.50, 79, we get rejected. You can see that on the intraday chart as well, right? This 80.50 to 81 is resistance, but every time we've pushed down, we get pushed back up. So it tells me there's an underlying bid in this stock. So if what I'll do is I'll feed it into the algorithm and I'll simply say, I'm looking for a pullback that I can buy as long as it doesn't violate this area. Man, Lumber Liquidators sure recovered, eh? Wow. Oh, never mind. No, it's still, but it's just had a pretty decent move recently for sure. ARS. This one's interesting. It doesn't have the ATR. So again, one of the reasons, and if you are a Trade Ideas customer, I think this window, this single stock window here, is probably the least utilized. I love the fact that I can just take a quick look at it and say, oh yeah, the average true range is 45 cents. I'm not interested. That's just not enough juice for me to buy a pullback and get a big mover. Quick way to do it is just to look at the ATR, and 45 cents just isn't enough for me to play with. But you know, depending on what information you want, you can put whatever you want in here, right? So I know there's a lot of people that love short floats, low float, high short interest type stocks. It's a good way just to kind of scan that the thing meets your criteria here. Bob has been holding tight. Interesting. I just can't, right? As a pullback trader, so, you know, support trader, I just can't get behind something that's done a move like that. And it will be cool to see, by the time we're done all this, we should get a pretty cool little list together. And then for me, as an algo trader, I'll essentially be done work until Tuesday. If I sit back and entirely let the bot deal with the trading, I know exactly what he'll get into and under what conditions he'll get into it, right? And then a protective stop for everything and a profit target for everything too. So, so I like the look of stocks like this Zen, where we had this breakout of resistance, and every time we come back to test support, it bounces off. The average true range is 60 cents, which isn't really huge, but decent volume, decent liquidity, and again, a clearly defined out here in the 2720s. So I'm going to add that one in too. That will be an easy one to feed in. Generally speaking, we're looking for about 10 longs, 10 shorts. Of that, when I feed those in, we're going to get about 30 to 50% in actual trades. And then of that, if I can just sneak out a little more than 50% in the winner's sake, with, I think I go for, it's between a 2-to-1 and a 3-to-1 risk reward. At 60%, that, or 50%, that's a decent little gain. And tap's interesting here, down at support, which is also a gap fill, right? So I always try to look for more than one indication of support, right? We had this gap fill area here, right? We've got bottoming tails 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this area. So you can tell every time we get to kind of the 39.50 area is when buyers step in. So we're going to feed NTAP and tell the bot to look for the entry criteria as long as we are above this 39.50 area. All right, so here's another custom scan that I like. And this is essentially just looking for things that have closed at or near their high yesterday. So you'll see that each one of these has had some sort of strong close. So some sort of close that is at or near the high of yesterday. And I had someone just tweet me and ask me to show me the custom formula stuff. So I'll post this in the chat room below there. That's where you go to, and you can see that you can just build these little custom formulas. They're way more complicated looking than they actually are. So the open versus high, where's closed? Closed at highs, right? So you can see that it's just a simple formula. Most recent close minus yesterday's high. And then I just say I want that less than I think 5 or 10 cents. Again, just showing things that have a strong close. Just not enough ATR in these. The other two scans that I look for on longs when I'm looking for these pullback type plays is we have kind of just an RSI and a Bollinger Band scan, both on the daily charts and the 60-minute charts. And this is just going to give me, these are the simplest ones, right? Just what is technically, according to Bollinger Bands, what is overbought and what is oversold. So quite often here, you'll get a lot of things that have gapped. I'm not interested in that. My theory behind a gap is that that's no longer a oversold stock. That's something that has had some sort of news catalyst that may have changed the fundamentals behind it. Less interesting to me as something that will bounce. For someone who doesn't play the news and actually doesn't read the news and just tries to sidestep it entirely, it's very important for me to kind of stay away from that type of thing. FN is very interesting here. Pretty decent pullback from 50 to 35 at an area that it's bounced before, and a pretty decent down move in the last few days. So I'm going to try to get the bot to see if we can get a pickup in this type of area. The other thing too is that I'd like some feedback. I don't even know where to check to see if anyone's watching or if I'm talking to myself. Is I'm thinking of either doing a live stream at the end of each close. I'm going to try to up the production quality too with some background music, see if that gets me kicked off or whatever. And just do a quick scan of people liked when I did the week, not last week, but the week before, where I did a wrap up every night of all of these things I fed in, what actually triggered, what worked, what didn't, and then what I was going to feed in the next day. And I did that every day for a week. So now I was thinking of maybe just doing a live stream where I just sit here and do this with you guys, again, in a little more chill setting, background tunes, that type of thing. So any and all people who have if that's something you guys would like to see, if that's something that would interest you and you'd share around and all that, maybe next week we'll do one of these a night where I'll just come on and say, okay, this is what this is what I fed in yesterday. This is what actually traded. This is what actually triggered. And this is what I think we should feed in the next night, and do that live each night for a week and just see how it works. New ideas, new things to talk about. I've noticed when I go through my analytics and everything that people watch. I did a video earlier in the week that was PowerPoint presentation. I thought it was a very prudent topic for traders. That kind of thing. It got like 60 views, but my last live stream was like 200. So people are more interested generally in the actual nuts and bolts of what I think the market's going to do and that type of thing, and seem less interested in the longer winded educational type stuff. So I'll bring my chat in here, but I'm getting a lot of feedback on that. So we'll commit to that now. Every night after the close, I'll come on here for maybe an hour, review the day's trading, and then feed the bot for tomorrow. Cube is really interesting, eh? Look at the support area we're seeing here. Oops, I don't even know how I did that. As much as I use trade ideas, I'm really bad at working their charts. But this line here, right? We had support here, support in here, and support in here. Pretty decent volume, 2.7 million, and that is this number below, this rel volume, is a comparison of that volume and the volume it normally does. So 2.5 is just 2.5 times normal volume. So that means it generally does like a million. I didn't look at this. Its ATR is tiny, so I'm not going to check that one out. SFM, if I'm a swing trader, this is a pretty bearish pattern for me. The big breakdown on a lot of volume, the kind of lackluster bounce, and it looks like we could be curling lower. If I was a swing trader, I'd probably look to short under 22 and put a stop up at 23. Just see if we get a retrace of this move. I, however, am not. That's another demon to conquer another day. The other thing too is I'll have to figure out how to feed sound through this. If anyone knows, if anyone's a techie, knows how to feed like a background music through these Google Hangouts on air, let me know. If not, I might just use OBS, which I have, and I think there's a way to do that a lot easier through OBS. All right, I think that's going to be our long list. So when you're done, you just hit update. And then if I move this, you'll see that in maybe a minute or so, when it runs through and updates all its list, it will update this as well. And we'll take a look. Oh, I just put, no, that's the short list. Okay. So now we'll do the same thing on the short side, where we'll go through, we've done the markets. We've wrapped up yesterday. I always like to review the kinds of shorts that are working. Like AME was good. Zillow was amazing. And EVHC didn't work, right? And EVHC was kind of, I was looking for a bear flag continuation lower, and that didn't work. So the two that worked were overbought, quote unquote. So I'm going to take a look at that and see if we can get some more of that for Friday or for Monday. EGCO, no. AME, nope. CCI. CCL. That's a nice little kind of middle finger topping tail up there. So I'm going to feed this one back in. A real slow mover though. At EVHC, no. HLF, I don't like the kind of rejection and the strong close here. So I'm going to skip past that one. No. And the interesting thing, and this is something that I've just, with this trading style, have had to learn. It's right. If you see hog, kind of did exactly what I would have wanted. You know, it broke this support area here, kind of 57.75, and then just tanked all day. But it didn't meet that specific algorithm that I set in order for it to trade, so there just was no trade. So sucks to see that, but that's just kind of the nature of it, right? It seems like no matter what kind of trading you do, there is always that time that you just miss it. Just doesn't work. Team, I have to continue to put on the list. This may have been an exhaustion gap after this long move, and then finally it gaps. Still can't beat this topping tail. Sometimes this is just them running out of steam. So I'm going to add this one in. And again, prepare any questions that you guys got. I'll be true. I'm going to put back into. I hang here for a while if you guys have a lot of questions that you need answered. So this middle finger scan is just the opposite of this hammer scan, basically saying I want the open and the close to be in the low of yesterday's range. Right, and the combination of those two just give us these topping tails. And it's one of those things that the more dramatic they are, the more they're at a support and resistance area, the more I think that the market just pays attention to them. And the entire market is essentially a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the more people that look at them, the more likelihood they have of actually working. So so exactly what I'm looking for, and again, this is the beauty of a trade ideas scanning type system, is I know what I want. I want something that has pushed up dramatically and has put in a few topping tails at a resistance area. And that's what I'm going to feed in my bot tomorrow. And because I can just say, okay, well, only show me things with topping tails, I filter out, the thousands of stocks into a handful. Then I just got to go and be diligent and kind of scan through those handful until I find one or two that actually kind of really meet that criteria. So far, there's been not much. All of these things are pushing down and putting in topping tails. So we may need to rely a fair amount on our overbought, oversold scans for this kind of thing. This NKTR is interesting to me as well if I was a swing trader with this big push down and then this kind of sideways consolidation. It still has all the way down to 1550 to fill this gap. So that could definitely be a decent risk reward swing, but just looking to feed the robot for some day trades on Monday. I'm going to feed that Twitter in, I think. Oh, no. Geez, it's been forever since I played Twitter. It used to be a stock that moved. Now she's dead. So another trick, a lot of people don't know this, but in any trade ideas window, if you right click configure and then flip, it will actually flip all of the important indicators. So like it won't flip the price. The price is still between 10 and $100. It won't flip the volume, but this is a Bollinger Band scan. So instead of the maximum being 0, the minimum will be 100. So that simply instantly, by saving screen real estate, turns that from a long idea to a short idea. And I'm a guy, if you've watched my setup videos, I don't have fancy systems and a billion different computer monitors like most traders. I've got 2 fairly small monitors, and that's it. So something like that where I can just flip these things saves a lot of problems. Everything that looks good on the short side is very low ATR. For reference, I'm looking for something kind of like Weight Watchers, although it's very hard for me to short Weight Watchers with such a massive short float. This is a pretty good ATR. I want about $1, give or take. I mostly will risk 20 to 25 cents. Generally, a decent profit for me is in the 40 to 50 cent area for that 2 to 1. Anything over that is just fantastic. So the ATR is then very important. I need to look at it and say, okay, how reasonable is it for me to expect the profit that I want, which is roughly double what I'm going to risk. I don't believe in incredibly hard targets of I'm going to sell it if and only if I make 50 cents, but you need to be able to eyeball it at the very least and have a general idea of how possible is it. You know, if I trade, what do we see? We saw Pfizer, for example. Right, this kind of support that we're seeing on Pfizer around this 33.80 is fantastic. Maybe you want to look for this for a move higher, but then you always got to keep in mind that your average true range is 30 cents. So even if you nab 50% of the ATR of that stock, that's only 15 cents. So to make mathematical sense, you're going to have to find a way to trade Pfizer where you can get away with like a 5-cent risk. And because I'm automating entries and automating stops, it's going to be very hard for me to find something get away with that. Ooh, I think my internet just stuttered a bit. I think we're back now. So I got a question. Can I filter the stocks that show only the ATR that interests me? Yes, but I don't. So I can go in here and I could say, I know exactly what you're saying. I could go in and just say ATR, average true range. And I could say I only want stuff between like 50 cents and $1. And that would filter out a lot of this stuff. However, the reason I don't do it, and if I was very time sensitive or time minded, I didn't have, you know, an hour a night to scan through these and I wanted to shorten that, that'd be a brilliant idea. The only problem with that is sometimes I'll look at the ATR and it will be 40 cents, but then I'll see that recently it's done some amazing moves and I still may want to trade it, but the average hasn't caught up yet. It's the same reason why I don't. All of these, if you look at them, share very easily. All of these have volume today. So not average volume, but volume today. And the reason I do that is because, say I put in an average volume of 1 million shares, but say it only does 800,000 shares, but today would be Friday at this point. 10 million shares. I still want to see that stock, even though it's only, yes, you can. And if completely I'll someone spin the close some things down. I always underestimate how streaming is on internet connection. All right, I'm gonna keep going as if I'm back. To be working. Feels close. This. Geez, 1500 millisecond delay. Isn't good. Okay, hold on. Okay, how about that? Is that better now? I've turned it off and turned it back on, which is usually the key. Can I watch my own stream? It's gonna be weird. Way better. Okay. All right. If it keeps giving you grief, let me know. I need a new router. I think I've decided. When too many things get going on my internet, things start breaking. So probably go grab one of those tomorrow. Don't even know what I was saying. I think I was answering that last question. I hope that I answered that. Kind of throws you off. If anyone has any good good suggestions for routers, I had one of those the Apple time capsule route. You know, it was a wireless router slash, you know, went and backed up all my data and everything. I had one of those for years and years, but my Mac recently died, and I don't want to replace it. I'm a PC guy now, I guess. So I've been slowly leaving the Apple ecosystem. So now I need to find a good router, I guess, to go through. This ABCO is interesting. 2 strong days up in a row here. kind of topped out right near this topping tail before. I need to go way back and check to see if that's an actual thing that happened or whether that's just like an errant tick. It's very hard to see. It's very, very hard to go back that far. Put on the list now, and I'll feed it in if that's. TER here is really interesting too. I like so basically my trading synopsis is I like it when you can see the other side get spooked or the other side kind of take a hit. And when you get a situation like this where you have a gap up and a real strong move and a strong close, and then you get a complete reversal of that the next day, if I was long anywhere through here and I saw this candle, I'd be very, very nervous. So I'm going to feed this one in for a short below this candle and a move lower. One of my favorite things. It kind of makes me feel mean, but I very much like when you can see where the other side is going to say uncle, where that other side is going to break and going to want to do something different. Index, interesting. I spoke too soon. It was much easier to find long trades actually than short. We've only got 5 on the short so far. And again, when we're done all this, we'll go through and we will go through each of the picks that I have here. And then we'll see how the robot deals with that on Monday. HOLX is very interesting as well. No resistance in sight. It's actually just recently broke out of a strong resistance point. But for you breakout traders, how often do you see a move like this run and not at least attempt to pull back? As we're breaking out to newer highs, you can see that the volume is declining. That's super interesting to me because that kind of, so we'll see if we get good. So basically the instructions short there and see if we get a little pullback because interesting. The other thing too to note is if I find anything else throughout the weekend, if there's any news or whatever comes on, make sure that you're keeping an eye out on Twitter. I don't do a lot on Twitter. Sound is bad again. Hold on. And we'll turn it back on. Close this. Okay, hopefully that fixed it. Let me move this a little further here. I'm constantly keeping an eye up. If you see that the sound goes bad when this number at the top left goes up to like 2,000, that means, because right now you can see this is your delay between what you're seeing and the Trade Ideas servers. Right now you can see there's half a second between me and the Trade Ideas server. If this goes up to like 2,000, that's basically on my end, it means my internet's crapping out because it's taking 2 seconds to receive the data back with which in trade ideas time is a lot. Generally speaking, you'll look at this and it'll be between 100 and between 50 and 100. So if it gets up to 2,000, that means it probably, unless it's their servers, which I doubt it because the sound's cutting out as well, it means that my internet's not doing the best, which I have to fix. And so where this was a Bollinger Band overbought, this is a RSI. So you'll see a lot of recurring stocks, a lot of stocks that are very similar. Facebook is going to go in here for sure. I like gaps after a long extended move. Makes me think they could be exhaustion. I like the fact that we reversed pretty hard here and put in the stopping tail. Yeah, so if anyone knows of good routers, let me know. I don't think it's my connection to the outside world. I think it's that my router is 1,000 years old. Probably just needs to retire. But we'll get all this rigged up for Monday where we're going to try a week of streaming. And if that works out and people like this, I've often thought of doing some sort of intraday live streaming type stuff. I did some way back in the day on Ticker TV, but that website just kind of died. It was to the point where I would go on and I would start my stream and everybody, like there's 20 people on the website and 19 of them were in my stream. So I think that the Warrior Trading guy bought it out. I haven't been back since. I don't know if it's picked up or not. And MASI, we're going to put in here as well. So while we wait for the short list update, let's go through the long list. So you can see what happens here, and you'll notice it on this side too, is these lists update every, I believe, 2 minutes or so. When it updates, you'll see these symbols go and the new symbols we picked out come back, whereas these are the symbols that we picked the next day. And again, that's getting fed into these alert windows, which are just support and resistance algorithms, basically saying, I want to trade the stock if and when the stock does this series of things. And from then, so of the, we probably have near 10 per side. Of that, we'll get, 4 or 5 longs, 4 or 5 shorts, which you could watch as a discretionary trader if you want. I feed them into a bot that works with my prop firm and have it auto trade them from there. So ACIA, we like the fact that this little resistance area here and here now might become support. We're obviously due for a small bounce from 125 to 50. And the last 3 days, we had a nice sell-off with a decent bottoming tail. There was supposed to be a trade happen on Friday. I don't think it would have been a good one if it did fill, but I didn't get a fill from that. I don't know if maybe it's a liquid, but it seems to do 1.5 million a day, so it should be fine with that. All right, so that took a bit too. So we'll wrap up this quickly, and I'll do a quick Q&A, and then we'll take off, and I'll see if I can get my internet all fixed up for Monday. But Autodesk, we're just kind of looking at this area each time they come down to 89.50. Buyers are stepping in. We think if it can hold much further, we could get a little bounce. It looks like it's kind of coiling for energy, I guess, in here. ASPS cut in half from 45 down to 22. Stopped right at an area of support here. Going to look for this one for a little bounce. FN, same kind of thing, right? We've had $50 down to 35, this is where it bounced last time. At least it could stall in this area. Again, I'm looking for a trade for the robot to take on Monday, so I don't need it to bounce, back up to 50. I'm just looking to see if we can get a little snapback bounce there. NTAP, it's pull back, close the gap, and bottoming tails 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A push up over this, I think we could get going. SHLD gave us a flat, I think, on Friday when the robot bought it in this area. You can see it just chopped around all day. I'm hoping that now that it's stalled, if some Momo comes in, some short covering. And again, if anyone is new here, my whole synopsis with trading is I just always try to look at the other side. If I was short anywhere in here and I'm seeing these candles getting smaller and smaller and smaller and the volume getting lighter and lighter and lighter, I'm taking a look at that and saying, okay, well, at some point, buyers are going to come in, short covers are going to come in, and we're going to get a big pop. So I might be the first to hit that button. If that's what I believe, then I think it's very reasonable that this thing will pop. On top of that, I'm using a back-tested algorithm for entry that puts the edge in my favor. So again, my job here is to narrow in a basket of stocks that I think have the best chance of moving when this algorithm kicks in. And TGT, we just broke out of this resistance area, right? We popped up here, we pulled back, we just broke out to it, and we've come back twice. Let me zoom in. And we've put in these bottoming tails each time. So buyers in this area have been stepping in. If we get any sort of strength up here, then I think we'll be, we got a little push up. We got a long way to go to even get to this top, right? That's $4 away up there. So an intraday move could be interesting. And Zen is the same type of thing, right? This resistance area that we broke, and we've been pulling back to it. And every time we've been pulling back to it, you can see that buyers are coming in and pushing it back up. So just looking for the sellers to give away. For short ideas, ABCO, push up. I need to find out whether this wick is legit or whether it's whether that's a bad tick. But either way, we've had this really strong move up over the last 2 days where it's covered kind of more ground than it has in the last 2 months. So some profit taking could be coming in. We've developed a pretty clean support area up here. So I'm pretty sure the robot will look at this as support. And if we break down here tomorrow, maybe we get a push into lows, which would be a decent risk reward trade. Activision is just shown as overbought. We're up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're up 12 days in a row. Just looking to see if we can get some sort of weakness around 52. CCL, same kind of thing. This thing's just been up forever. Finally put possible exhaustion gap and a big topping tail here. Going to feed this into the robot for kind of this area, right? This 6180, say 62 to 6150. Looking for a support break in that area. Of $150 could get interesting. HOLX, same kind of move as, what was it, ABC. Again. Possibly. Likely. Okay, I think we're back. I'm going to continue talking. I'm just going to wrap up this list and then I'll call it a day. I'll go tomorrow. I'll try to get a new router all set up, and so hopefully things will go better. This is unusual, though. I do a lot of uploads to my YouTube channel and everything, and things work better. But today we're just getting these giant lag spikes, and I don't know why. I may need to look to see if there's something in the background of my house that's downloading something large. Team, we're looking up here. Clear resistance at $34.90, $35, you could say. Again, I like these gaps after a really strong move. I think it's kind of foolish to chase it long up here. Therefore, you know, someone may come in. TER. We talk after a big strong move. This could guess and saying, okay, it's time. You know, I'm long 35. It's time to take a bit of profit. And true, same kind of thing. We had a strong kind of support resistance area up here, and then a failure from that. So as long as we stay under this kind of base area, I'm going to look for this on the short side. So I'm gonna cut the Q&A for today. Try to figure out what's going on with my internet, and come back on Monday after the close. Probably do it like a half hour after the close each day. Again, you can check me out on Twitter if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, and then have that tell you when I'm going live, because I'll always tweet out, you know, a half hour before, and then at that. Again, sorry for the internet problems. Hopefully we'll get that fixed today or tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys on Monday.